The yacht tilted violently as the wave crashed over the bow, and Diana Jensen grabbed the railing so hard her knuckles went white, watching the sky turn from gray to black in what felt like seconds. She had been invited on this Mediterranean cruise by her college roommate Vanessa, who had promised sun, relaxation, and a much-needed break from Diana's demanding job as an environmental consultant. What she had not promised was this nightmare of a storm that had blown in from seemingly nowhere, turning their luxury yacht experience into something out of a disaster movie. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom, tight with barely controlled panic, ordering everyone below deck immediately. Diana stumbled down the narrow stairs, her heart hammering against her ribs. The yacht lurched again, and she slammed into someone solid. Strong hands caught her shoulders, steadying her, and she looked up into the most striking gray eyes she had ever seen. "You all right?" His voice was deep, calm despite the chaos around them. "Fine, I just need to find my friend," Diana said breathlessly. "Everyone needs to get to the main cabin now." He kept one hand on her elbow, guiding her through the tilting corridor. She noticed he moved with confidence, like he had done this before, like he knew exactly what to do when everything was falling apart. The main cabin was crowded with the other passengers, maybe 20 people total, all wearing various expressions of fear. Vanessa rushed over and grabbed Diana's hand. "Oh my God, I thought you went overboard," Vanessa said, her voice shaking. "Not yet," Diana tried to joke, but her voice came out thin. The man who had helped her moved to the front of the cabin where the captain stood. They spoke in low, urgent tones, and Diana caught fragments of words that made her stomach drop. Equipment failure. Navigation systems down. Storm worse than predicted. "Listen up," the captain said, his weathered face grave. "We are taking on water. The storm has damaged our hull. We are approximately 3 miles from a small private island. We are going to try to make it there before we lose power completely." Panic rippled through the cabin. Someone started crying. Vanessa squeezed Diana's hand so tight it hurt. The next hour was the longest of Diana's life. The yacht groaned and shuddered, waves pounding it relentlessly. Water seeped in through places it should not have been able to reach. The crew handed out life jackets with grim efficiency. Diana pulled hers on with shaking hands, trying to remember everything she had ever learned about ocean survival, which was essentially nothing useful. The man with gray eyes was moving through the cabin, speaking quietly to people, his presence somehow reassuring despite the circumstances. He stopped beside Diana and Vanessa. "We are going to make it," he said, looking directly at Diana. "The island is close. The captain knows what he is doing." "How do you know?" Diana asked. Something flickered across his face. "I have been there before, trust me." And strangely, she did. When they finally saw land through the rain-streaked windows, a ragged cheer went up in the cabin. The island appeared through the storm like a dark shadow, rocky cliffs rising from churning water. The captain managed to guide the dying yacht into a small bay, and they ran aground on a beach with a grinding crunch that shook Diana to her bones. Getting everyone off the yacht and onto the beach was controlled chaos. The rain pelted down in sheets, the wind screaming. Diana helped Vanessa through the surf, both of them soaked and shivering within seconds. The crew was shouting instructions, herding everyone toward a tree line where the vegetation offered some protection from the worst of the wind. Diana counted heads once they were all huddled under the palm trees and dense foliage. Everyone had made it. Miraculously, no one was seriously hurt, just scared and wet and cold despite the tropical temperature. "We need shelter," the man with gray eyes said to the captain. He had to shout to be heard over the storm. "There is a house on the other side of the island. If we follow the path, we can reach it." How do you know that? The captain asked. The man hesitated. This is my family's island. Diana stared at him through the rain. His family owned an entire island. Then lead the way, the captain said. They made a bedraggled procession through the storm, following the man along a path that Diana could barely see. He moved confidently, even in the darkness and rain, and she found herself walking close behind him, taking comfort in his steady presence. Vanessa clung to her arm, and Diana tried to project a confidence she did not feel. The house, when it finally appeared through the trees, was not what Diana expected. She had been picturing some small fishing cottage or maybe a rustic cabin. Instead, a sprawling modern villa emerged from the darkness, all glass and white stone, built into the hillside overlooking the bay. Even in the storm, it was stunning. The man produced a key from somewhere and unlocked the main doors. Everyone piled inside gratefully, dripping on the marble floors. Diana stood in the entryway, taking in the soaring ceilings, the minimalist furniture, the artwork on the walls that looked like it belonged in a museum. There are 8 bedrooms upstairs, the man said, his voice echoing in the large space. People can share. There is a generator, so we will have power once I get it started. The kitchen is stocked. We will be safe here until the storm passes and someone can come get us. The captain began organizing people, assigning rooms, taking stock of any injuries or medical needs. Diana found herself just standing there, dripping and staring at the man who owned all this. He caught her looking and walked over. Up close, she could see he was probably in his early 30s, with dark hair plastered to his head from the rain and a strong jaw shadowed with stubble. His clothes, which had probably been expensive, were now as ruined as everyone else's. "I am Felix," he said. "Felix Kincaid, Diana Jensen." She shook his offered hand. "Thank you for helping me on the yacht and for bringing us here." Not much choice in the matter, he said, but there was something almost wry in his tone. The island was the closest land. Lucky coincidence. "You own an entire island," Diana said, because she could not quite wrap her head around it. "My family does. I do not come here often." Something shadowed his expression. "I was on the yacht trying to get away for a few days. Ironic, really." Before Diana could ask what he meant, Vanessa appeared at her elbow. "We are in room 4, Vanessa said. "Come on, we need to get out of these wet clothes." Felix nodded. "There should be clothes in the closets. My mother keeps the place stocked for guests. Help yourself to whatever you need." Diana followed Vanessa up the curved staircase, glancing back once to see Felix heading toward what looked like a utility room, presumably to deal with the generator. The man seemed impossibly composed for someone whose vacation had just been derailed by a shipwreck. Room 4 was gorgeous, with a king-sized bed, an en-suite bathroom, and floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the bay. In daylight, the view would probably be spectacular. Right now, it just showed darkness and rain and occasional flashes of lightning. "Holy shit," Vanessa breathed. "His family owns this place. Who is he?" "Felix Kincaid, apparently," Diana said, peeling off her soaked shirt. "That name sounds familiar." Vanessa's eyes went wide. "Kincaid." "Like Kincaid Industries. They own half the shipping companies in the world and like commercial real estate and I think some luxury hotel chains. They are one of the richest families on the planet." Diana paused with her hands on the closet door. "You are joking." "I am not. I read an article about them in Forbes. The old man, Charles Kincaid, is worth something like $30 billion. Felix must be his son. I think there was a photo, but I do not really remember what he looked like." "So we just got shipwrecked on a billionaire's private island," Diana said slowly. "That is not something that happens to normal people. And he caught you when you fell. Vanessa said with a grin that was only slightly undermined by her still chattering teeth. Meet cute of the century. Stop, Diana said, but she was smiling despite herself. We are in a disaster situation. This is not a romance novel. But as she found dry clothes in the closet, soft linen pants and a cotton shirt that smelled faintly of expensive detergent, she could not help thinking about Felix's calm gray eyes and the way he had held her steady when everything was falling apart. Downstairs, the lights flickered on and a small cheer went up from the other rooms. Felix had gotten the generator working. Diana and Vanessa made their way back down to find most of the other passengers gathered in the enormous living room. Felix was in the open-plan kitchen with a couple of crew members, pulling food from the refrigerator and pantry. We should eat something, Felix called out. Everyone has had a shock. Food will help. Diana drifted into the kitchen, drawn by a desire to be useful and maybe also by curiosity about their unexpected host. Felix was pulling together ingredients with efficient movements, and she recognized the signs of someone who actually knew how to cook. "Can I help?" she asked. He glanced up and something in his expression softened. "You do not have to. I want to. I am not good at sitting still." He studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Can you make pasta? There is a large pot in that cabinet." They fell into an easy rhythm, working side by side. Diana boiled water and cooked pasta while Felix made a simple tomato sauce with garlic, olive oil, and herbs from the pantry. The crew members he had recruited set the large dining table and found wine in the cellar. It felt surreal, preparing dinner in a billionaire's island villa while a storm raged outside, but the normalcy of the task was oddly comforting. "You are good at this," Diana observed, watching Felix chop garlic with practiced efficiency. "My mother insisted I learn to cook," Felix said. "She said no son of hers would be helpless in a kitchen. Smart woman, she is." His voice held affection but also something else, something complicated. "She is the one who actually uses this place. The rest of us do not visit much." "Why not?" Diana asked, then immediately regretted the personal question. "Sorry, that is none of my business. It is fine." Felix scraped the garlic into the pan, and the smell made Diana's stomach growl. "My father believes in working constantly. Leisure is not something he values. My mother managed to get him to buy this place years ago as a compromise, somewhere she could retreat when the pressure got too much. But for him, it is a waste of resources." Diana heard the tension in his voice. "But you are here now." "I needed to get away." He stirred the sauce, not looking at her. "From the business, from the expectations, from all of it. I told my father I needed 2 weeks. He gave me 4 days before he started calling." "That must be suffocating," Diana said softly. Felix looked at her then, really looked at her, and she felt the impact of his full attention like a physical thing. "Most people do not understand that. They hear billionaire and think I have no right to complain." "Money does not make you less human," Diana said. "Pressure is pressure, no matter what form it takes." Something shifted in his expression, like she had passed some kind of test. "What do you do, Diana?" "Environmental consulting. I help companies reduce their carbon footprint, improve sustainability practices, that kind of thing." "Do they listen?" She laughed, a little bitter. "Sometimes, when it saves them money. Otherwise, I am usually the annoying person telling them why they cannot do what they want to do." "Sounds frustrating." "It is, but someone has to do it." She drained the pasta, steam rising in a cloud. "Our planet is kind of important." Felix smiled, and it transformed his face from handsome to devastating. "I like you." Diana felt heat rise in her cheeks that had nothing to do with the steam. "You just met me, true, but I have a good sense for people." He took the pasta pot from her and began mixing it with the sauce. And you are the first person in a long time who has talked to me like I am just a regular person. To be fair, I did not know you were a billionaire until Vanessa told me about 20 minutes ago. Even better." He was still smiling as he carried the large serving bowl to the table. Dinner was a strange affair. Everyone still processing the trauma of the day but grateful to be alive and safe and eating hot food. The wine helped, loosening tongues and easing tension. Felix moved through the group like a natural host, making sure everyone had what they needed, answering questions about the island and when they might expect rescue. "The storm should pass by tomorrow evening," he said. "Once it does, I will use the satellite phone to contact the mainland. Someone will come get us within a day or two at most. So we are stuck here for at least 2 days." One of the other passengers asked, a middle-aged businessman who looked deeply uncomfortable with the whole situation. "I am afraid so. But as you can see, it is not exactly a hardship." Felix gestured at the villa around them. "There is plenty of food, comfortable beds, even a library and a meteor room if anyone gets bored." Diana caught his eye across the table and saw the weariness there beneath his calm exterior. He was putting on a good show, being the gracious host, but she suspected this was not how he had planned to spend his escape from his demanding life. After dinner, people began drifting off to their rooms. The adrenaline of the day was wearing off, leaving exhaustion in its wake. Vanessa was yawning beside Diana. "I am going to bed," Vanessa announced. "Today was insane." "I will be up soon," Diana said. She helped Felix and a couple others clean up the kitchen, loading the dishwasher and putting away leftovers. When everyone else had gone, she found herself alone with him in the quiet villa. The storm still raged outside, but inside it was warm and safe. "Thank you for helping," Felix said, wiping down the counter. "You did not have to stay. Like I said, I am not good at sitting still." Diana leaned against the island, suddenly unsure what to do with her hands. "This place is beautiful, by the way. Your mother has excellent taste." "She does." Felix tossed the dish towel aside and moved to the large windows, staring out at the storm. "She says the island is her sanctuary." "I never really understood that until today." Diana joined him at the window, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from his body. What changed, being forced to just stop? He turned to look at her. No business meetings, no phone calls, no obligations, just survival. "It is the first time in months I have felt like I could actually breathe. Even with a shipwreck. Even with a shipwreck." His mouth quirked. "Maybe especially because of it. Hard to worry about quarterly earnings when you are fighting for your life." Diana studied his profile in the dim light. "Is it really that bad? Your life, I mean." Felix was quiet for a long moment. "I am the heir to a massive company I never asked to inherit. My father has been grooming me for the role since I was old enough to read. I have a business degree from Harvard, an MBA from Stanford, and I have spent the last 8 years learning every aspect of the family empire. And the truth is, I am not sure I even like it." The confession hung between them, raw and honest. "What would you do if you could choose?" Diana asked. "I do not know anymore. That is the problem." He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I used to love architecture. I spent hours as a kid designing buildings, sketching plans, but that was impractical according to my father. Kincaids run businesses, we do not draw pictures." Diana felt a surge of anger on his behalf. "That is cruel. That is reality." But he sounded tired more than bitter. "I should get some sleep. Tomorrow will probably be chaotic." "Probably," Diana agreed, but she did not move and neither did he. They stood there at the window, watching lightning illuminate the churning sea, and Diana felt something spark between them, a connection that defied the circumstances. She barely knew this man, but she felt like she understood something essential about him, the weight he carried beneath his calm exterior. "Good night, Diana," Felix said softly. "Good night." She forced herself to walk away, up the stairs to the room she shared with Vanessa. But she looked back once and found him still standing at the window, silhouetted against the storm. The morning dawned gray and wet, the storm still present but less violent. Diana woke to find Vanessa already dressed and eager to explore. "Come on," Vanessa said, bouncing on the balls of her feet. "Let us see what this place looks like in the daylight." The villa was even more impressive in the morning light filtering through the clouds. Everything was sleek and modern, all clean lines and natural materials. Diana found Felix in the kitchen again, making coffee, and he looked up with a smile when he saw her. "Morning. Sleep okay?" Surprisingly, yes. She accepted the cup of coffee he offered. "You? Well enough." But there were shadows under his eyes that suggested otherwise. More people filtered into the kitchen, and the day took on a strange vacation-like quality despite the circumstances. With the storm slowly passing and nothing to do but wait for rescue, people began to relax. Someone found board games in a closet. Others explored the beach once the rain lightened to a drizzle. The crew members assessed what had been salvaged from the yacht and reported that it was a total loss. Diana found herself gravitating toward Felix throughout the day. They played chess in the library, and she discovered he was as strategic as she would expect from a business heir, but also willing to take creative risks that surprised her. They walked on the beach in the afternoon when the rain finally stopped, shoes off and pants rolled up, waves lapping at their ankles. "Tell me about your work," Felix said as they walked. "The environmental stuff. Do you enjoy it?" "Most of the time," Diana said honestly. "It can be defeating, trying to convince companies to change when all they care about is the bottom line. But when I get through to someone, when I see real change happen, it makes it worthwhile." "You believe in what you do, of course. Do not you?" Felix bent to pick up a shell, turning it over in his fingers. "I believe in parts of it. Kincaid Industries does a lot of good. We employ thousands of people. We have started initiatives in renewable energy and sustainable building. But it also feels like I am just maintaining an empire, not building anything meaningful." "You could change that," Diana said. "If you are going to inherit it, you could steer it in a new direction." "My father would fight me every step." "So, you are not a kid anymore. You are what, 32? 33. 33, he confirmed. "Then stop letting him dictate your life." Diana stopped walking and turned to face him. "I know that is easier said than done, and I am not trying to minimize how complicated family business dynamics can be. But Felix, you seem miserable." "Life is too short for that." He stared at her and she worried she had overstepped. But then he laughed, a genuine sound of surprise and something like delight. "You are very direct." "Sorry," Diana said, not feeling sorry at all. "Do not be. It is refreshing." He pocketed the shell and resumed walking. "Everyone in my life either tells me what I want to hear or what they think I should hear. You just tell me the truth." "That is what friends do," Diana said. "Are we friends?" "I think so." "Unless you object to being friends with someone who was not born into billions." Felix stopped again, and this time his expression was serious. "Do not do that. Do not assume I am a snob just because of my family." Diana felt chastened. "You are right. I am sorry. That was unfair." "I get it," Felix said more gently. "People make assumptions. It is exhausting, but I get it." They walked in silence for a while, but it was a comfortable silence now. Diana watched the waves and tried to process the strange turn her life had taken. A few days ago, she had been stressed and overworked, desperate for a vacation. Now she was shipwrecked on a private island with a billionaire who looked at her like she was the most interesting person he had ever met. Diana, Felix said, breaking the silence. Can I ask you something? Sure. When we get off this island and back to real life, can I see you again? Her heart did something complicated in her chest. We live in the real world right now. You know what I mean. No shipwrecks, no forced proximity, just you and me choosing to spend time together. Diana stopped walking and looked at him, really looked at him. He was watching her with those gray eyes, open and hopeful and a little bit vulnerable. Yes, she said, I would like that. His smile was like the sun coming out. Good. That evening someone suggested a bonfire on the beach. The storm had passed, leaving behind clear skies and stars so bright they took Diana's breath away. Felix and some of the others built a fire pit, and they roasted marshmallows and told stories, and gradually the traumatic shipwreck transformed into something else, an adventure they had survived together. Diana sat on a piece of driftwood, watching the flames dance, feeling the warmth on her face. Felix sat down beside her, close enough that their shoulders brushed. This is nice, he said quietly. It is. I meant what I said earlier about seeing you again. Diana turned to look at him. In the firelight he was all shadows and angles and intensity. So did I. I live in New York. You? Boston, but I travel for work pretty regularly. New York and Boston are not that far apart. They are not, Diana agreed, her pulse quickening. Felix reached over and took her hand, his fingers threading through hers. It was such a simple gesture, but it felt monumental. Diana was intensely aware of every point of contact, the roughness of his palm, the warmth of his skin. I have not felt this way in a long time, Felix said. Maybe ever. What way? Like I could just be myself. Like I did not have to perform or live up to expectations. You do not want anything from me except honesty. Diana squeezed his hand. I like who you are, not your money or your family name. Just you. He lifted her hand and pressed a kiss to her knuckles, a gesture so old-fashioned and romantic that Diana felt herself melting. Around them, the others laughed and talked, but it felt like they were in their own private world. Stay with me tonight, Felix said, then quickly amended. I mean, just to talk. I have so much I want to ask you, and tomorrow we might get rescued and everything will get complicated. Okay, Diana said without hesitation. They slipped away from the bonfire eventually, walking back to the villa hand in hand. Felix led her to a different room, one she had not seen before, a study with bookshelves lining the walls and a couch facing yet another view of the ocean. They talked for hours, curled up on opposite ends of the couch. Felix told her about growing up under intense pressure, about his younger sister who had escaped the family business by becoming a doctor, about his complicated love for a father who was brilliant but cold. Diana told him about her childhood in a small town in Vermont, about her passion for environmental science that started with a beloved teacher in high school, about the ex-boyfriend who had not understood why she cared so much about work that did not pay as well as she could have earned elsewhere. He wanted you to sell out, Felix said, frowning. He wanted me to be practical, which I understand, but it just was not what I wanted. Good for you for leaving. It was not that dramatic. We just grew apart. Diana tucked her feet under her. What about you? Anyone waiting for you back in New York? No. I dated someone for a couple years, another business heir. It was expected by our families, but we were more like business partners than lovers. She ended it about 6 months ago, said we were both just going through the motions. Were you? Yes, Felix admitted. I liked her, but I did not love her. I think she felt the same. We were both too focused on meeting expectations to question whether we were actually happy. That sounds lonely. It was. He shifted closer on the couch. This does not feel lonely. No, Diana agreed softly. It does not. They fell asleep there eventually, Diana's head on Felix's shoulder, his arm around her. It was innocent and comfortable and felt absolutely right. Diana woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and Felix already awake, watching her with a soft expression. "Morning," he said, "morning." She sat up, suddenly self-conscious. "Sorry for falling asleep on you. Do not be, I liked it." There was a commotion from downstairs, voices raised in excitement. Felix and Diana went to investigate and found everyone gathered around the satellite phone, which Felix had retrieved from a safe. "I got through to the mainland," Felix said to the assembled group. "A boat is coming to pick us up. They will be here by this afternoon." There were cheers and relief, and also, Diana noticed, a little bit of disappointment. Their strange interlude was ending. They would return to normal life with all its complications. The hours until the boat arrived passed too quickly. Diana helped pack up what little they had, made sure Vanessa was ready, and tried not to think about leaving. She found Felix on the deck, staring out at the ocean. "You okay?" she asked. "Yes, just thinking." He turned to her. "Diana, I know we have only known each other a few days. But I meant everything I said. I want to see where this goes." "So do I," Diana said. "But Felix, your life is complicated. You are about to go back to running a billion-dollar company. I am just an environmental consultant from Boston. You are not just anything." He took her hands. "You are smart and passionate, and you see me, the real me. Do you have any idea how rare that is?" "Your father is going to hate me," Diana said, trying to make a joke but failing. "Probably," Felix agreed with a wry smile. "But I am done living my life for him." "I told you, you made me realize that. I did not do anything. You existed. You reminded me what it feels like to want something for myself." Diana felt tears prick her eyes. "This is happening really fast. I know. If it is too fast, tell me, I will back off." But his hands tightened on hers like he could not bear to let go. "It is fast," Diana admitted, "but it also feels right. Is that crazy? If it is, we are both crazy." The boat appeared on the horizon, getting steadily larger. Everyone gathered their things and made their way down to the beach. The rescue was efficient and professional. Crew members helping everyone aboard, assessing for injuries, handing out water and blankets even though no one really needed them in the tropical heat. Diana found herself on the boat next to Vanessa, watching the island recede. "So," Vanessa said, grinning, "you and Felix Kincaid. Maybe, I do not know, we are going to try. He is completely into you, it is so obvious. You think." Diana could not help the hope in her voice. "I know. The man barely looked at anyone else the entire time we were there. And you are glowing." "I am not glowing. You absolutely are." Vanessa bumped her shoulder. "I am happy for you. He seems like a good guy, billionaire, weirdness aside." Felix was at the front of the boat talking to the captain, but he kept glancing back at Diana. Every time their eyes met, she felt that spark again, that connection that defied logic and time. They docked at a marina on the mainland to find chaos waiting. News crews, concerned family members, company representatives. Apparently, the shipwreck had made international news, and everyone wanted to know about the billionaire heir who had survived. Felix was immediately surrounded by people, men in suits and women with tablets, all talking urgently. Diana saw his expression shudder, the easy openness of the island replaced by the guarded mask of someone used to dealing with the public. She hung back with Vanessa, feeling suddenly out of place. This was his world, not hers. But Felix pushed through the crowd and came straight to her. "I have to go deal with this. The company, lawyers, the press, all of it, but give me your number. Please." Diana rattled off her number, and he typed it into a phone that someone had handed him. Then, in front of everyone, he leaned down and kissed her cheek. "I will call you tonight," he said. "I promise." Then he was swept away, and Diana was left standing there with Vanessa, her cheek burning where his lips had touched. "Oh yeah," Vanessa said. You two are definitely happening. The next few days were surreal. Diana and Vanessa were interviewed by the authorities about the shipwreck, given medical checkups, and finally released to go home. The story was all over the news, but thankfully, most of the attention was on Felix, not the other passengers. Diana went back to her apartment in Boston and tried to return to normal life, but everything felt different. She went to work, met with clients, wrote reports, but part of her mind was always somewhere else, thinking about the island and Felix and whether he would actually call. He did. That first night and the night after, and every night for a week. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. Felix told her about the chaos at his company, the debriefs and meetings, and his father's anger that he had been on a yacht in the first place instead of at the office. He said I was being irresponsible, Felix said, and Diana could hear the frustration in his voice. Like I caused the storm myself. That is ridiculous. That is my father, he sighed. But I am done letting him control everything. I have been thinking about what you said, about steering the company in a new direction. I want to make Kincaid Industries a leader in sustainable business practices. Real change, not just greenwashing. Felix, that is amazing. Will you help me? Diana blinked. What? I want to hire your firm. I want a full sustainability audit and a plan for how we can do better, and I want you to head the project. That is a huge undertaking and expensive. I am aware. Is that a yes? Diana felt excitement bubbling up. It is a yes. But Felix, this has to be separate from whatever is happening between us personally. I will not let anyone accuse me of sleeping my way into a contract. Agreed. We will keep it completely professional. You will report to our chief operating officer, not to me. Fair market rates, everything above board. Then yes. Absolutely yes. They spent the next week hammering out details. Diana's firm was ecstatic about landing such a major client. She assembled a team and began the preliminary research, diving into Kincaid Industries' operations across multiple sectors. But she and Felix still talked every night, conversations that had nothing to do with business. He told her he was thinking about her constantly. She admitted the same. The distance between New York and Boston felt vast and frustrating. Come to New York this weekend, Felix said one night. Please, I want to see you. Diana wanted that too desperately. Okay, but Felix, we have not even been on a real date. We should probably do that before things get too intense. Is falling asleep on my shoulder on a private island not a date? That was survival, not a date. He laughed, and she loved the sound. Fine, I will take you on a proper date, the most proper date of your life. That sounds ominous. Trust me. Diana took the train down to New York on Friday evening, her stomach fluttering with nerves. Felix met her at the station, and the moment she saw him waiting on the platform in jeans and a leather jacket, she broke into a run. He caught her in a hug that lifted her off her feet, and it felt like coming home. Hi, he said, setting her down but not letting go. Hi yourself. Ready for this date, depends on what you have planned. He took her hand and led her out to a car waiting at the curb, a sleek black sedan with a driver. Diana raised an eyebrow. I promise, this is not me showing off, Felix said. We just need to get across the city quickly. They drove to a part of Manhattan Diana did not recognize, an area being redeveloped. The car stopped in front of a construction site, or what looked like one, lots of scaffolding and half-finished buildings. Diana said. Are we trespassing? I own the building. Felix helped her out of the car. Come on. He led her through a gate and into a skeletal structure of steel and concrete. Diana followed, confused but intrigued. They took a construction elevator up, and emerged on what would eventually be the roof. Someone had set up a table and chairs, string lights and candles protected by glass hurricanes. The view of the Manhattan skyline was breathtaking. "Felix," Diana breathed, "this is incredible. This is my project," he said. "The one thing my father let me do. A sustainable mixed-use building, cutting-edge green technology. It is not finished yet, but the structure is sound and I wanted to show you." "Why?" "Because you said I should build something meaningful. This is me trying." He pulled out a chair for her. "Also, I wanted to impress you." "It is working," Diana said, sitting down. Dinner was catered from a restaurant Diana recognized as one of the best in the city. They ate and talked and watched the sun set over New York, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Felix told her about his vision for the building, how every decision was made with sustainability in mind. Diana offered suggestions, getting excited about the possibilities. "This is going to be amazing when it is finished," she said. "You should be so proud." "I am. It is the first thing I have done that feels like mine, not just another Kincaid Industries project." After dinner, they stayed on the roof, wrapped in a blanket Felix had somehow procured, watching the city lights come alive. "Diana," Felix said softly, "I need to tell you something." "Okay." "I am falling for you, fast and hard. And I know that is probably too much too soon, but I do not want to play games. I want to be honest." Diana turned to look at him, her heart racing. "I am falling for you too. It scares me how much." "Why does it scare you?" "Because our lives are so different, because this could get messy. Because I have never felt this way about anyone before, and what if I mess it up?" Felix cupped her face in his hands. "Then we mess it up together." "But Diana, I do not think we will. I think this is something real." He kissed her then, slow and sweet and full of promise. Diana melted into him, all her fears evaporating in the warmth of his touch. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Felix rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me tonight," he said. "At my place. No pressure, I just want to be near you." "Okay," Diana whispered. His apartment was in Tribeca, a penthouse that somehow managed to feel like a home despite its obvious luxury. There were books scattered on tables, art that looked like it had been chosen for love rather than investment, photos of his family. They stayed up late talking, curled together on his couch. Felix told her about his dreams, the things he wanted to do if he could break free from his father's expectations. Diana shared her fears about climate change, her frustration with how slowly things were changing. "You are going to save the world," Felix said with absolute certainty. "One corporation at a time," Diana joked. "I mean it. You have a fire in you. It is one of the things I love most about you." They went to bed eventually, Felix lending her a shirt to sleep in. He held her close, and Diana felt safer than she had in her entire life. The weekend passed in a blur of happiness. They wandered through the city, ate at tiny restaurants Felix loved, visited the Met where Felix surprised her by knowing a tremendous amount about architecture. They talked to Diana's team about the Kincaid Industries project, maintaining strict professionalism, but unable to keep from exchanging glances. By the time Diana had to return to Boston on Sunday evening, she was completely in love. She did not say it yet, too afraid to push too hard too fast, but she felt it in every cell of her body. Felix kissed her goodbye at the train station, long and desperate. "I am going to miss you. It is just a week. I will be back next weekend." "That is too long. You could come to Boston." "I will be there Wednesday. I have meetings with your team anyway." Diana laughed. "You are going to use work as an excuse to see me?" "Absolutely." He kissed her again. "I will use any excuse." The next few weeks fell into a pattern. Felix came to Boston or Diana went to New York. They saw each other every chance they got, grabbing stolen moments between meetings and work obligations. The sustainability audit was progressing well. Diana's team uncovering ways Kincaid Industries could improve, while also identifying things they were already doing right. But the pressure was building too. Felix's father was not happy about the sustainability initiative, seeing it as an expensive waste of resources. Felix fought him on every point, and Diana could see the toll it was taking. "He threatened to replace me," Felix said one night, pacing Diana's apartment. "Said I was running the company into the ground with my idealistic nonsense. You are not, though. The preliminary numbers show that sustainable practices could actually save money in the long run." He does not care about the long run. He cares about quarterly profits and shareholder value. Diana went to him, stopping his pacing. "Felix, you have a board of directors. If they see value in what you are proposing, your father cannot just override you. You do not know him. He built that company from almost nothing. The board defers to him on everything. Then make them stop deferring. Present the data, show them the future. Fight for what you believe in." Felix pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. "What did I do to deserve you?" "Survived a shipwreck with me." He laughed, but it was strained. Diana held him tighter, wishing she could protect him from his father's demands, but knowing this was a battle he had to fight himself. Things came to a head 2 months after the shipwreck. Felix called a board meeting to present Diana's findings and his proposed sustainability initiative. Diana was not there, but he called her immediately afterward, and she could hear the devastation in his voice. "He shut me down," Felix said flatly, "in front of the entire board. Said I was too young, too idealistic, too naive. The board sided with him. Felix, I am so sorry. I should have known better. I should have known he would never let me actually change anything." "What are you going to do?" There was a long silence. "Then I am going to quit." Diana's heart stopped. "What? I am done. I am done trying to live up to impossible expectations. I am done fighting for scraps of approval. I am done." "Felix, think about this. Do not make a rash decision. It is not rash, it is overdue." His voice was getting stronger now, more certain. "I am 33 years old, and I have spent my entire life trying to be what my father wants. I do not even know who I am outside of that, but I want to find out." Diana felt pride and fear in equal measure. "This is a huge decision. I know. But Diana, I have never been more sure of anything." "Well, except you, I am sure about you." "I am sure about you too," Diana said, tears streaming down her face. "Whatever you decide, I am with you." "I love you," Felix said. "I should have told you weeks ago, but I was afraid, but I am done being afraid. I love you, Diana Jensen." "I love you too," Diana said, laughing through her tears. "So much it terrifies me. Then we can be terrified together." The next month was chaos. Felix resigned from Kincaid Industries, and it made headlines. His father released a scathing statement about irresponsible youth and squandered potential. Felix ignored it all and started planning his own venture, an architectural firm focused on sustainable design. "I am going back to my first love," he told Diana. "I am going to build things that matter." Diana watched him come alive with purpose, the weight he had carried for so long finally lifting. He asked her to join him, to be the sustainability director for his new firm. She said yes, without hesitation. They moved in together, finding an apartment in New York that was big enough for both of them to work from home, but small enough to feel cozy. Felix's mother came to visit and loved Diana immediately, whispering to her that she had never seen her son so happy. His sister Sarah flew in from Seattle and grilled Diana over dinner, then gave her seal of approval. "You are good for him," Sarah said. "He was disappearing under all that pressure. You brought him back." "He saved himself," Diana said. "I just reminded him he could." Felix's father refused to meet Diana, but she did not let it bother her. She had Felix's love, and that was enough. 6 months after the shipwreck, they went back to the island. Felix had called ahead, making sure it was stocked and ready. They arrived by private boat in the late afternoon, and Diana felt a rush of nostalgia seeing the villa again. "It looks different without the storm," she said. "Everything looks different now," Felix agreed. They spent 3 days there, swimming and cooking and making love and planning their future. Felix's new firm was taking off, their first major project already in the works. Diana's old firm had spun off a division specifically to work with them, and she was heading it. On their last evening, Felix led Diana down to the beach at sunset. They walked hand in hand, feet in the surf, just like they had that first day. "Diana," Felix said, stopping and turning to face her. "This is where I realized I was falling in love with you, right here on this beach." "Felix," Diana breathed. Seeing him drop to one knee, he pulled out a ring, a simple but stunning diamond set in sustainable gold. "I know it has only been 6 months, but I also know I want to spend the rest of my life with you. You saw me when I was lost, and you helped me find myself again. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Diana said, pulling him up and kissing him. "Yes, absolutely yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, and they held each other as the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in brilliant colors. "I cannot believe our love story started with a shipwreck," Diana said, laughing. "Best disaster of my life," Felix agreed. They got married a year later in a small ceremony on the island, just family and close friends. Diana wore a simple dress, and Felix could not stop staring at her like she was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. His mother cried happy tears. His sister was Diana's maid of honor. Even Felix's father showed up, offering a stiff congratulations that was the closest thing to approval Felix had ever received from him. "I am proud of you," Charles Kincaid said quietly to his son during the reception. "You found your own path. That takes courage." Felix accepted the olive branch, and Diana squeezed his hand, knowing how much those few words meant to him. The firm thrived. Within 2 years, they were leading the industry in sustainable design, winning awards and accolades. Diana's work expanded beyond the firm, consulting for companies worldwide, speaking at conferences, becoming a voice for environmental responsibility in business. They bought a house in upstate New York, something with land and old trees and space to breathe. They adopted a dog, a golden retriever they named Storm, because they had a sense of humor about how they met. 3 years after the wedding, Diana found out she was pregnant. Felix cried when she told him, happy tears this time, and immediately started designing a nursery that would be the most sustainably built room in existence. Their daughter was born on a sunny spring day, perfect and tiny and loved beyond measure. They named her Marina, a nod to the ocean that had brought them together. Felix proved to be an incredible father, devoted and present in a way his own father had never been. Diana watched him with Marina and fell in love with him all over again. They still went back to the island every year on the anniversary of the shipwreck, a tradition they called their disasterversary. Marina came with them once she was old enough, and she loved the beach and the villa and the stories about how her parents met. "You were in a shipwreck?" she asked when she was 5, eyes wide. "We were," Diana confirmed. "It was scary, but it brought us together." "That is very romantic," Marina declared with the seriousness only a 5-year-old could muster. Felix and Diana exchanged amused glances. "Yes," Felix said, "I suppose it is." Years passed, full and happy. The firm grew, their family grew, their love grew. Felix designed buildings that won international recognition for innovation and sustainability. Diana's work helped shift entire industries toward more responsible practices. Marina grew into a bright, curious child who loved science and wanted to save the ocean. On their 10th wedding anniversary, they stood on the same beach where Felix had proposed, watching Marina splash in the waves. "You ever regret it?" Diana asked. "Leaving the family business, choosing this life instead." Felix pulled her close. "Not for a single second. You were right that day on this beach. Life is too short to be miserable. I would rather build one beautiful thing that matters than run an empire that makes me hollow inside." "I love you," Diana said. "I loved you the moment you caught me on that yacht, even though I did not know it yet." "I loved you the moment you told me to stop living for my father," Felix said. "You were brave enough to say what I needed to hear." They kissed as the sun set, Marina's laughter carrying on the breeze, and Diana thought about how one terrible storm had brought her the greatest joy of her life. She had been looking for a vacation, for a break from the stress and pressure of her work. Instead, she had found her home, her partner, her future. The island had been Felix's family's sanctuary, a place to escape. But for Diana, it had become the place where everything began, where she met the man who would change her life, who would love her fiercely and completely, who would build a life with her that neither of them had imagined possible. Sometimes the best things come from the worst circumstances. Sometimes you have to survive a storm to find your peace. And sometimes, when you are least expecting it, you meet someone who sees straight through to your soul and loves everything they find there. Diana had helped Felix find himself, but he had done the same for her. Together, they had built something beautiful and real and lasting. A love story that started with a disaster and became something extraordinary. As they walked back to the villa hand in hand, Marina running ahead, Diana looked at the life they had created and felt overwhelmingly grateful. For the storm that had stranded them together, for the island that had given them space to fall in love, for every choice and chance that had led them to this moment. "Hey," Felix said, tugging her hand. "What are you thinking about?" Diana smiled up at him, this man who had become her everything. "Just how lucky I am that yacht started sinking." Felix laughed, the sound rich and free and full of joy. "Luckiest disaster in history." "Agreed," Diana said, and kissed him as the stars began to appear overhead. The same stars that had witnessed the beginning of their story and would shine on all the years to come. Their love had been forged in crisis but had grown in peace, nurtured by mutual respect and genuine affection and the simple choice to keep choosing each other, every single day. It was not always easy, but it was always worth it. And when Marina asked years later as a teenager what their secret was to such a happy marriage, they both answered the same way. "We remind each other who we really are," Felix said. "And we never stop fighting for what we believe in," Diana added. "Including each other?" Marina asked. "Especially each other," they said together. The island remained a constant in their lives, a place to return to when the world got too loud, when they needed to remember where they came from. The villa held their history in its walls, the story of two people who found each other in the middle of chaos and built something beautiful from it. Felix never regretted leaving Kincaid Industries. His own firm became more successful than he had ever dreamed, and more importantly, it reflected his values. Every building they designed was a statement about the future they wanted to create, a world where business and sustainability were not enemies but partners. Diana's impact rippled far beyond their firm. She consulted with governments, spoke at the United Nations, and became one of the leading voices for environmental responsibility in business. But she always came home to Felix and Marina, to the life they had built together. As they grew older, their love only deepened. They knew each other's rhythms, could communicate with a glance, finished each other's sentences. They still went on dates, still surprised each other, still made each other laugh until they cried. "You know what the best part is?" Felix said one night, lying in bed in their upstate New York home, Diana curled against his side. "What? We get to do this for the rest of our lives. Wake up together, build things together, grow old together." Diana tilted her head up to kiss his jaw. "That storm stranded us on your family's island, and I found peace with your presence. But you found it too. We found it together." "We did," Felix agreed softly. "We absolutely did." And they fell asleep like they had so many nights before, wrapped in each other's arms, grateful for the storm that had changed everything, for the love that had saved them both, and for all the beautiful tomorrows still to come. Their story proved that sometimes the universe knows what you need before you do. That sometimes being forced to stop and breathe is exactly what saves you. That love can bloom in the most unlikely circumstances and grow into something that sustains you through everything life throws at you. Diana had gone looking for a vacation. She had found her forever, and that made all the difference.